Dana knew the knife was coming the second she saw the intern in her doorway, wearing heels too expensive for someone on a university payroll and smiling like she'd already picked out curtains for Dana's office. Mitch said I should just hang with you today, the girl chirped, clutching a cold brew like it was her emotional support animal. Her name was Emily. She had pastel nails, a wrist tattoo that said breathe, and the oblivious confidence of someone who'd never seen QuickBooks crash 10 minutes before an audit. Dana smiled back, tight-lipped, professional, the way you do when your gut knows it's funeral day but no one's told the corpse yet. She motioned to the empty chair, watching Emily plop down like it was her throne. They'd given Dana the intern. That was the tell, not the fewer meeting invites or the sudden quiet on email threads, where she used to be CC'd on everything from vendor approvals to coffee orders. Not even the way the CFO, Mitch, the human equivalent of a Bluetooth earpiece, had stopped making eye contact in the hallway. No, this was it. Emily was the ghost of replacement future, and she'd arrived bearing spreadsheets and big ideas. Now, if you're one of the 97% listening to this and haven't hit that subscribe button yet, maybe think about fixing that. It keeps us caffeinated, keeps stories like this alive, and honestly, it makes the whole team feel like someone out there's watching. And that's not nothing. Anyway, Dana didn't panic. She did what any woman who'd survived 3 mergers, 2 accounting software overhauls, and a CFO who once tried to deduct his yacht gas as a client acquisition expense would do. She stayed quiet and watched as Emily shadowed her like a baby duck in Zara Flats, watched as the CEO made a speech about leaner strategy and vision realignment at the quarterly meeting and managed to thank every department except finance. Watched as her office nameplate was missing one morning and quietly replaced with interim financial analyst Emily B. By noon, she didn't cry in the bathroom. She didn't scream into a pillow. She went home that night, opened a fresh bottle of Trader Joe's Cabernet and backed up everything to her private drive. Labeled, indexed, cross-referenced. She left behind breadcrumbs so sharp they could cut a vein if you grabbed them wrong. But no booby traps, that wasn't Dana's style. The CFO thought she was too expensive. Too legacy. He said it to her face, actually, grinning like he was announcing a new gym membership plan. Emily's younger, cheaper, and better at Excel, he said. It's not personal. Dana smiled. Of course not, she replied, filing that moment into a mental folder marked use later. Her last week was a parade of forced smiles and fake gratitude. She handed off quarterly reports half-finished, knowing full well the macros would break the second someone tried to override cell protections. She left post-its on drawers with things like password, still working hard and watch column G, formulas twitchy. And then she walked out. No fireworks, no grandstanding. Just a cardboard box, a small plant, and a silence that hummed louder than a scream. They thought she was gone. They didn't know Dana. They didn't even have the decency to wait until Friday. Dana was halfway through reconciling a supplier discrepancy when Mitch knocked twice and swung her door open without waiting for a response, because of course he did. He had that scent about him, Axe body spray layered over cowardice. Behind him stood an HR rep holding a manila folder like it was a newborn she didn't want. Dana knew right then this wasn't a meeting. It was a burial. Hey, Dana, Mitch said, voice syrupy and fake as a diner maple packet. Mind if we chat real quick? She didn't flinch. Just minimized the spreadsheet, straightened the corner of a ledger, and gave him that look, the one she'd patented across 2 decades of babysitting executives who thought tax code was optional. HR sat. Dana didn't offer coffee. Things are shifting fast, Mitch began, launching into one of his breathless monologues about vision and agility and aligning with scalable solutions. She tuned out around the part where he said transitioned. That's the word they always use when they're about to staple gun your job to someone younger and whiter. We're transitioning you out of your current role. Not firing, not letting go, transitioning like she was molting. Then came the kicker. We've brought in someone new, he said, oozing pride. Emily. Fresh MBA, dual concentration in finance and digital systems. She's going to bring fresh eyes to the operation. Fresh eyes? Like Dana had been navigating the books blindfolded for 17 years. Like she hadn't kept this place afloat during a supply chain collapse, 2 audits, and that whole incident with Mitch's accidental crypto investments. Dana smiled. A small, strange smile that said, you boys are about to learn algebra without the calculator. Her office was reassigned by 3 p.m. They didn't even give her a chance to clean it herself, just had a facilities guy box everything up and leave it by the elevators. She found her piece lily wilted from neglect, a metaphor too on the nose to even laugh at. Her work laptop was repossessed midday. 1 second she's emailing a vendor rep about a backlogged invoice. Next, IT is standing behind her chair like mall cops with a deactivation notice. Sorry, protocol, the guy mumbled, not meeting her eyes. Dana handed it over like a loaded gun. Better hope Emily knows the difference between a pivot table and a panic attack, she muttered. The HR woman tried to walk her through the transition packet. Dana flipped through the pages without reading. Severance math, Cobra coverage, some post-it scribble about exit interview availability. Like her opinions still mattered. She was told to hand off the open reports by end of day. So she did, half finished. Unlabeled tabs, conditional formatting turned off. Just enough ambiguity to require follow-up, but only if someone knew what they were even looking for. No warnings, no red flags, no handwritten memos explaining vendor codes or the dark art of decoding import duties buried in foreign invoices. Dana walked out with nothing but a coat draped over her arm and silence in her wake. But silence can be loud. And in that silence, she left behind just enough ghosts to haunt the place. Emily came in swinging like a toddler with a lightsaber, loud, messy, and fully convinced she was saving the galaxy. Day one, she was already hosting a team huddle in Dana's old office, now stripped of its calm, neutral tones and soaked in whatever manic pixie Pinterest disease she'd contracted from her sorority days. There were motivational prints on the wall, boss babe mode, activated, and some kind of Himalayan salt lamp she probably bought because a podcast told her it clears digital energy. The staff played nice. They always do at first, even when Emily renamed the shared drive folders with cringy acronyms like FAB, Finance and Beyond, and started using Slack GIFs to react to invoice errors. But behind the smiling, nodding, love the energy. Faces was the same old machine, one that Emily didn't understand and wouldn't admit she couldn't. Instead, she leaned hard on Dana's spreadsheets. She'd click through formulas she didn't write, trusting autofills without verifying the source cells. There were tabs Dana had built that linked out to archive directories, some even requiring legacy login credentials Emily didn't have but never bothered to ask about. And the CFO? Mitch was on a victory lap. He practically dry humped the whiteboard during the first post-Dana financial update. Look at that. Processing time down by 30%. Labor costs shaved by nearly 18%. This is the future, people. What he didn't mention was that Emily had just pushed through a batch of vendor reports using last quarter's formatting, data that hadn't been fully reconciled. Numbers looked tidy, but they were rotten underneath. Meanwhile, Dana was not watching, not technically. She was at home, reorganizing the spice rack alphabetically, buying birdseed, watching Judge Judy reruns with the volume too loud. And yet her phone buzzed, LinkedIn message, from Corey, the junior accountant, the kid who used to bring her cold brew after tax season and who once cried in her office because he couldn't figure out freight reconciliation. Sweet kid, a little dim but sweet. Hey Dana, random Q, did you mean to leave this flag on the vendor report? The disclosure tab has a weird note. No worries if not. Just look kinda off. Hope you're doing well. She read it 3 times, smiled, didn't answer. There was something almost indulgent about it all. Like watching a bad sequel try to recreate your masterpiece but with a cheaper budget and worse lighting. Let them flail. Let Mitch high-five himself into oblivion. Let Emily keep clicking accept changes on formulas she didn't recognize. Dana didn't need revenge. Not yet. She just needed patience. And that, unlike Emily's salt lamp, actually worked. The first tremor was a bounced payment. Vendor out of Milwaukee, mid-tier supplier, rubber molding for the assembly line. Nothing flashy but critical. They'd been on net 15 terms for over a decade and never missed a beat. Until now. The payment failed. Twice. Emily blamed accounts payable, said something about clerical misfires and back-end errors like she was casting spells instead of doing actual math. She CC'd half the office and ended with a chirpy, "Let's stay proactive, team." AP panicked. Corey, the junior accountant, got called into a Zoom with Mitch where he was grilled like a Costco hot dog. Mitch even used his serious voice, the one reserved for board meetings and parking tickets. Why wasn't this caught earlier? Do you check ledger discrepancies or just assume things line up? Maybe you should stay late tonight and walk me through your process. Corey apologized 12 times in 20 minutes. Meanwhile, the actual problem, the rotted base under Dana's polished structure, kept spreading. Emily was adjusting reports without really understanding them, approving things because the autofill looked close enough, and signing off on disclosure forms she hadn't read past the subject line. The company's compliance software, an aging beast named Concordia, was still rigged with Dana's logic flags, little formulaic minds buried in the back end. They worked like ghosts, subtle, unseen, but screaming the moment someone tried to cheat the system. Except now, nobody was listening, because Emily, in her infinite wisdom, had submitted a revised vendor disclosure to corporate counsel. She checked the wrong box. A small, easily overlooked one that reclassified certain international imports under the wrong tax exemption. And not a soul caught it. Why would they? Mitch was too busy bragging about how streamlined the department had become under Emily's leadership. Emily was too busy gluing rhinestones onto her iPad case and copy-pasting from last quarter's templates. Dana, meanwhile, was deep in her garden shed, sorting screws by diameter. She'd picked up hiking again, took her dog to new trails, learned how to bake sourdough, ruined 3 starters, and finally named the successful one Janet. She lived quiet, not bitter. But every now and then, she'd check the company's 8K filings. Just a glance. She saw the revised vendor list hit the wire, skimmed the new disclosures, stopped when she saw the exemption flag. Wrong box, wrong damn box. Her lips curled, not a smile, not quite, but something close. Dana didn't call, didn't warn, because this wasn't her circus anymore. But she knew exactly how many clowns were in the car. Video hit LinkedIn before the actual employees even saw it. Mitch, standing in front of a blue-silver backdrop that looked like someone had murdered a tech convention, beamed into the camera like a proud stepdad announcing he'd learned how to microwave salmon. "We are thrilled to announce a strategic partnership with Traceline Global," he said, arms flailing like he was conducting an invisible orchestra. "This is a bold new chapter in our supply chain innovation story." Translation: they were importing materials from a Chinese subcontractor with a history of creative customs reporting. Traceline was cheap, fast, and came with all the regulatory risk of an unlicensed tattoo parlor. Dana watched the video from her kitchen, one AirPod in, sipping coffee she'd ground herself. She paused at the 2:31 mark. Mitch used the phrase zero disruption guarantee, while Emily stood behind him nodding so hard her head looked detachable. Dana raised an eyebrow, not in shock, just the way a former firefighter might nod at a flickering outlet. She smelled smoke. She opened her laptop, logged into Concordia using the guest-level credentials that someone had forgotten to deactivate. Not malicious, just sloppy. And Concordia, bless her cranky little silicon heart, had done her job. At 3:17 a.m. that morning, an automated alert had gone out to a flagged contact at the IRS liaison office. Category: Foreign Vendor Disclosure Discrepancy Inconsistency with Prior Period Classification. Dana didn't need to open the file to know exactly what it said. She already had it memorized. Emily had sent the wrong form. The box was still checked wrong. Traceline's entire classification now fell under non-taxable supply chain inputs, which, surprise, was a violation when the majority of goods were final stage products. That mistake? It was the kind the IRS doesn't giggle about over brunch, and yet Dana didn't gloat. She closed her laptop, took her dog out for a walk, trimmed the deadheads off her daisies, made lasagna, let the afternoon pass like a breeze over a sealed trapdoor. The email came at 6:42 p.m. Subject: quick chat. "Hi Dana, hope you're enjoying your time post-transition. I'm with the corporate legal team. We're doing a quick compliance refresh and realized there were a few legacy systems you managed that might need clarification. Totally informal, just wondering if we could pick your brain." She read it twice. The tone was cheerful, desperate, trying too hard, like someone ringing the doorbell with a smile and smoke behind their back. She didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, she poured a glass of wine, clicked on the company's careers page, noted the sudden listing for temporary financial compliance consultant. They hadn't named her, but the shape of the hole was unmistakably Dana-shaped. She swirled her glass, took a slow sip, and stared out the window. They were still digging, and they hadn't hit the bodies yet. It hit on a Thursday morning, right between Emily's almond milk latte run and Mitch's second self-congratulatory forecast meeting. The company's main operating account was frozen. Not paused. Not flagged. Frozen. Vendors couldn't pull payments. Payroll bounced. Even the janitorial service called in a panic because their invoice portal showed account inaccessible. The staff Slack thread, usually filled with boomerangs of dogs and ties and Emily's passive-aggressive gifts, lit up like a Christmas meth lab. By 9:13 a.m., HR had suspended all direct deposit processing. By 10:02, the finance team was in full collapse. Corey, bless his overworked soul, was dry heaving into a trash can. Emily, found locked in the third-floor bathroom stall, mascara melting, whispering to her mom on speakerphone, "I don't know what I did wrong. It was just one checkbox." Meanwhile, Mitch had gone full Wall Street meltdown, pacing the glass conference room, jabbing his Bluetooth like he thought the IRS might be scared of his decibel level. "You need to unfuck this right now, Shelley. We're talking millions." Millions stuck. "I can't pay the damn snack vendor. We have a trail mix emergency, Shelley." And then came the meeting with the CEO. Poor bastard. He walked into the war room looking like a man who'd just been told his Tesla was keyed by God. "Who the hell is Emily B?" he asked, flipping through a compliance binder someone had panic printed that morning. "Why is she approving Form 10-77D? Doesn't that require a second sign-off?" Mitch blinked. "She's, our controller." "No, Dana is the controller," the CEO said flatly, "or she was. She built this entire system. Who authorized the switch?" Mitch stammered something about modernization and synergizing growth touchpoints. The CEO didn't respond, just looked out the window like he was fantasizing about jumping through it. Meanwhile, several states away, Dana was folding laundry. The second email came through. This one didn't dance around the issue. From Melissa H., Executive Assistant to CEO. Subject: urgent request callback needed ASAP. "Hi Dana, hope you're well. Mr. Landry would really appreciate a brief conversation with you regarding some time-sensitive developments in the finance team. Please let us know the best number to reach you on today." She stared at it for a moment, put down the towel, walked to her porch, sat in the sun. She didn't smile, not yet, but she did finally reply, "Happy to talk. I'm free after 1 p.m. Just a heads up, I bill by the hour now." And somewhere, inside the charred ruins of Mitch's ego, a tiny ember flickered out. The click of Dana's heels down the hallway was the loudest sound in the building that morning, louder than the broken silence in accounting, louder than Mitch's office door slamming shut the moment he caught a glimpse of her reflection in the vending machine glass. No badge this time. No awkward smiles at reception. Just a guest lanyard that read crisis consultant in courier font, like the printer knew how to whisper revenge. She didn't bring a laptop, didn't need one. All she brought was a legal pad, a pen, and a face so neutral it made Switzerland look hostile. Emily was already seated in the glass conference room, shoulders drawn up like a turtle without a shell. Her mascara was lighter than usual. Her Boss Babe notebook sat unopened in front of her. Dana paused in the door. No smile, just a tilt of the head. The way a wolf looks at a wounded deer it doesn't need to chase. Hi, Dana, Emily mumbled. Dana nodded. Let's get started. The CEO's assistant scrambled to pull up access credentials. Dana didn't even flinch when she saw her old folders, mangled, renamed, files duplicated, some even missing date stamps. Amateurs. Pull the vendor disclosure Emily submitted 2 weeks ago, she said, tone calm as a still lake hiding sharp rocks. Emily tapped keys, fumbled the mouse, opened the wrong file, tried again. Dana waited. Finally, it loaded. Right there, she said, pointing to a single cell. Box 14B, tax exemption for intermediate goods. Checked. But Traceline Global didn't ship intermediates. They were sending finished products, tariff eligible. The mistake reclassified over $3.8 million in taxable inventory as exempt. It was like telling the IRS you grow your own cocaine but forgot to check the illegal box. Dana tapped her pen once on the table. That, she said softly, is where it all started. No one spoke, not Emily, not the CEO. Certainly not Mitch, who was working remotely for the foreseeable future, translation, hiding under his desk at home, probably Googling white-collar plea deal. Dana printed the document, slid it into a manila folder, and reached into her bag, pulled out a sticky note. In tidy, looping handwriting, she wrote, didn't read before signing, huh? She stuck it right beneath Emily's signature. Then she stood. I'll need full access to the shared drive. I'll review everything from Q1 to now. Also, you'll want to get legal on standby. The CEO just nodded, his eyes fixed on the floor like it might explain how they got here. Dana didn't gloat. She didn't need to. She was billing $275 an hour. And every second ticked like a metronome on Mitch's downfall. The building changed after that. It got quieter, like the air itself was trying not to draw attention. Meetings were shorter, laughter rare. Even the guy from facilities stopped whistling in the stairwell. Nobody was sure who was being watched anymore, only that someone was. Within 48 hours of Dana's return, internal legal launched a formal review. Not a fact-finding exercise, not a routine sweep. A full-blown who signed what and when forensic crawl. 2 days after that, external auditors arrived. Not the usual polite ones from the Midwest who ate whatever donuts were in the break room and asked for access like they were borrowing a lawnmower. These ones came in black slacks, grim faces, and rolling suitcases full of NDAs. Big firm, DC, based, spoken acronyms and legal precedent. They set up in conference room B and didn't come out for 6 hours. When they did, they were holding binders labeled quarterly transfer irregularities and international vendor anomalies. The next morning, Mitch was gone. Official email said administrative leave. Word around the break room was he'd tried to explain the error chain to the auditors and got chewed up like an unpaid intern in a boiler room. Apparently, he'd blamed Emily, blamed AP, and even, in a final desperate move, tried to suggest Dana's old system was outdated. That went over about as well as a fart at a baptism. Emily, she got time off to regroup, which is HR's soft little euphemism for go home and cry into your degree while we figure out how to fire you without triggering a discrimination lawsuit. She cleared her desk on a Thursday, left behind a reusable water bottle with CEO in training in sparkly script and an unopened copy of Lean In. No one said goodbye. As for Dana, she didn't rub salt, didn't strut, just kept showing up 3 days a week, laptop now issued by legal, access credentials upgraded to full admin. She reviewed over 1,400 documents in 6 days, found 4 more compliance gaps, 3 billing anomalies, and 1 offshore vendor using a shell company address listed as Suite 2C, Coconut Alley. The CEO sent out an all-staff email with the subject line, turning the page together. Buried 4 paragraphs down, it read, "We'd like to extend our gratitude to Dana K., whose institutional knowledge and professionalism have been invaluable during this transitional period. No apology, no flowers, but Dana didn't need either." She printed the email, slipped it into a folder, filed it next to her severance agreement. That night she made soup, opened the windows, let the breeze in, no gloating, just that strange, hard-earned kind of peace that smells like tomato, basil, and quiet victory. The kind you only get after watching the machine that spit you out choke on its own bolts. The check came in a nondescript white envelope. No logo, no letter. Just her name typed out in sterile black ink and a number that made Dana blink twice before folding it neatly into her wallet. Back pay for her unused PTO. Every last dime of her consulting hours, logged with the precision of a tax attorney. And a 6-month retainer labeled ongoing systems support, which was corporate speak for please don't let us die while the feds crawl through our colon. She didn't celebrate. She didn't even tell anyone. Instead, she took a walk. Spring had finally kicked winter's teeth in, and Ohio actually smelled like grass again. The kind of day when even the birds seemed smug. She passed the old building, her building once, just as a new audit team was rolling in, binders stacked high like funeral flowers. They looked fresh, optimistic, still believed in systems, still thought facts could speak for themselves. She paused at the crosswalk, watched them badge in one by one. The CFO, still under federal review, according to a hushed LinkedIn whisper from Corey. His profile photo hadn't changed in weeks. No gym selfies, no think piece reposts, just a man digitally vanishing by the hour. Emily, retail accounting, somewhere in Kentucky. Word was she got hired part-time to reconcile till drawers at a grocery chain that still used dot matrix printers. A step down so steep it could have snapped her ankles. Dana didn't laugh. She just adjusted her sunglasses, walked another block, and turned into the FedEx on 4th. The clerk barely looked up as she handed over a small padded envelope, pre-addressed. Recipient, a former coworker, one of the good ones, someone who'd stayed quiet but loyal, and once slipped a note into Dana's purse that said you didn't deserve this. Inside the envelope, a single thumb drive. Label, Legacy Controls V2.0, everything she'd ever built. Every buried tripwire. Every correction, backup, and trigger protocol no one else had ever bothered to learn. Not a threat, a gift. Let the good ones rebuild. She stepped outside into the sun, tipped her face toward it like a sunflower in no rush. A breeze caught her coat just as she turned back for one last glance at the glass-paneled building she used to call hell. And in a voice so quiet it almost didn't matter, Dana whispered, "Younger, cheaper, maybe. Better at Excel." Not even close. Then she walked away and didn't look back. Sometimes justice doesn't come from shouting, it comes from knowing exactly which string to pull and waiting until the silence becomes unbearable. There's something powerful about weaponizing your absence, especially when the system thought it could run without you. This story is a masterclass in letting people hang themselves with the rope they proudly cut from your desk. You're the real MVPs of the office jungle. Thanks for watching. Smash that subscribe button, or the coffee pot might just forget your next brew.